In his Underworld, The Mysterious Origins of Civilization, Graham Hancock examines the numerous structures that have been discovered underwater around the world. Most of the sites that Hancock discusses lie less than 120 meters below sea level, which comes as no surprise since the sea level never fell below this mark during the time that human beings walked the earth. Submerged over 700 meters underwater, the Cuban city discovered by Paulina Zelitsky and Paul Weinzweig during a joint Cuban-Canadian expedition is the singular exception. How can the existence of this underwater city at this great depth be reconciled with the well-established knowledge that the sea level never dropped this low, even during the last ice age? In Hancock's own words, what one would not expect to find in water anywhere near as deep as 700 meters would be a sunken city, unless it had been submerged by some colossal tectonic event rather than by rising sea levels. However, the hypothesis that the city was originally built at a higher altitude and subsequently sunk to its present depth throughout tectonic activity has not stood up to the scrutiny of the experts. Mr. Grenville Draper of Florida International University considers it highly unlikely that such an event could have occurred. Nothing of this magnitude has been reported even from the Mediterranean. Supposing Draper's remarks rejecting the likelihood of the city having been submerged are reliable, we are compelled to accept that the city was built at more or less the same depth that the city is located now. In other words, we are faced with the absurd conclusion that the structures were built underwater. It is clear that we have reached an impasse. Could there be an alternative theory that satisfactorily accounts for these structures at such depths? On the opposite side of the Atlantic Ocean from the Caribbean Sea is the Mediterranean Sea. Dividing Europe and Asia, the Mediterranean Sea is an enormous body of water, over 2,500,000 square kilometers, that has, at least within the timeline of anatomically modern man, always existed. For millennia, ships of successive great nations and empires sailed the Mediterranean, the Phoenicians, Greeks, Carthaginians, and Romans among them. In 146 BC, owing to its victories in the Punic Wars against Carthage, Rome achieved what no known civilization had achieved before: the control of the entire Mediterranean Sea by a single power. The Romans, rightly so, called the sea that they ruled over Mare Nostrum, our sea. Could the Romans have ever imagined that their sea, long before the dawn of man, was once a dry and landlocked basin, and that the sea that now existed was formed in a cataclysmic flood? Indeed, they may very well have. In natural history, Pliny the Elder, a famous Roman scholar, mentions in passing a tradition of the inhabitants near the Strait of Gibraltar. They also believe that the Straits of Gibraltar were dug through by Hercules, upon which the sea, which was before excluded, gained admission and so changed the face of nature. Could it be that the Caribbean Sea has a similar geological history as the Mediterranean Sea? That is, could the Caribbean Sea have been a dry basin